Welcome everyone to Zoom into Books this afternoon. We have award-winning mystery writer Melissa Nordhoff with us today. Melissa lives in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Melissa, we are so happy you could join us today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
We have a lot of people who love mysteries on Zoom into Books, so I know they're excited to hear about your new book. The title is Last Will and Puzzlement. So I think we'd like to start off by you telling us how you got interested in writing, and then tell us about your book, please.
Absolutely. So pretty much as soon as I could read, I knew I wanted to write. So as a young child, I would draw pictures and I would write little stories to go along with the pictures. By the age of 9, I decided, okay, it's time to write a book. So I used that old manual typewriter and I was hunting and pecking and typing my book, and my cover was poster board that I laminated, and I used the brass fasteners to bind it together. And I can tell you, when it was all done, I just held it to my chest. I was so proud of it, and I was 100% sure that this was going to be my profession. Through high school and my college days at William and Mary, of course, I wrote tons of short stories, papers, essays, but I just never had the fortitude to write a full-length novel. And to be honest, I don't think I had the emotional depth yet. I had not experienced enough of life to be able to really develop characters that would be different from myself. So I needed time. I needed time to germinate. So my creativity kind of took a different turn after I graduated, and I went into advertising. So I created lots of different ad campaigns. I even had the privilege of working for Walter Cronkite at the Annapolitan magazine in Annapolis, which was just a wonderful experience. And then I had my daughter, and so life was hectic, and that was enough to satisfy my creative urges, being able to create the ad campaigns. And I learned and I grew, and eventually I started my own advertising firm, which currently promotes just small businesses. And I love it. I love my day job, but I still had that itch to write. It just was getting stronger and stronger as I aged. So at age 50, I made the decision, okay, it's time. And that's when Last Will and Puzzlement became the result of that decision. To tell you a little bit about Last Will and Puzzlement, it is a lighthearted mystery that is set in Lancaster County. And Evie, one of the main characters, she is the grandmother, very spirited, very colorful grandmother of twins Ruby and Roddy. And after 86 full-throttle years, she screeched into death, but not before creating a funerary adventure for the twins. So in order to claim their inheritance, they had to solve a series of carefully crafted puzzles that she left for them. And what's kind of nice about it is readers can actually solve those puzzles along with Ruby and Roddy. So if you enjoy puzzles, this is the book for you. So the solutions of the puzzles, it's going to lead the twins throughout Lancaster County. It leads them back in time to the 1930s. And, as they're making discoveries, things start to get a little more alarming with each discovery as they go along. The final revelation truly is a bombshell for them, and it's going to change their life forever. Like I said, it is set in Lancaster County, and it not only will folks, if you're familiar with the area, you'll learn some little tidbits about the history of Lancaster County. Of course, a lot is fiction, but there's a lot of mentions of local businesses and local places in the county.
That's terrific. your book is so different. Um, your book is so different because of the puzzles that are part of it. I met Melissa at Pen Writers in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Lancaster, I want to be sure I say it right.
There you go.
I know that's important.
I even mentioned that in the book.
I know I get reminded about it quite a bit. And I know that you have written other books too, but this is one of your first mysteries. And why did you decide you wanted to write mysteries as opposed to children's books or nonfiction or thrillers? You want to speak to that a little bit? I know we always have a lot of first-time authors and people who are interested in writing a book. So maybe you could kind of speak to that.
Absolutely. I chose mysteries because of my love for puzzles. And truly, writing a mystery to me was a very challenging puzzle, because you kind of have to get in your mind, who's going to be the good guy, who's going to be the villain, what red herrings are you going to have. You really have to make sure, you have to know where the plot's going, and you want to have just enough breadcrumbs in each chapter to keep readers turning the pages, but you can't have too many because you don't want to give the story away early. So it's really a balancing act of making sure you're giving enough hints, but not too many. And then you want it to be solvable, but again, not before you're ready to have them solve it. If somebody solved the mystery in the first 2 pages, that would be pretty boring. So you really have to, make sure your pacing is correct. And then you have to throw in some twists and turns, and you want to make sure that they seem like they belong there, that they're seamlessly woven into the story itself. And when you have to use all those elements and put it together, it truly is. I always feel like I'm working out the puzzle in my head, the puzzle of what the book is going to be. And I can tell you by the end of it, when I write the end, that is like solving the most satisfying puzzle ever. So that is, why I chose to do mystery, because for me, I was creating my own year-long puzzle.
What you probably have read mysteries all your life. Most of us have. Who are some of your favorite authors that you do like to read and maybe have inspired you?
Well, I do, in the cozy mystery realm, I do like Charlaine Harris. I think she's fantastic. There is an author named Deanna Rayburn that she does mysteries that verge on thrillers. Sherry Lapina is another pretty new author that I enjoy quite a bit. And even Jodi Picoult, even though she doesn't write mysteries per se, just her character development and the way you saw her stories through all the different points of view, that was so inspiring to me, and Last Will and Puzzlement is told from 2 different points of view. Because I think, you get a much more well-rounded picture when you're seeing it from different characters' perspective. So yes, I mean, definitely I've taken inspiration from all of those authors.
I know character development is real important. You have some fantastic characters in your book. And you also travel a timeline. You kind of go back in time and then bring it forward again. How do you do that? Do you keep several timelines? How do you handle the timelines and the characters? You have to make your reader love the character, and it takes talent to do that. So would you talk a little bit about both of those?
Sure. As far as the timeline goes, I definitely have to keep an outline and plug things in as I'm going, like what happened in this year, who was involved. And that is a always developing outline to keep the timing straight and how old the character is at a certain time and that kind of thing. That's always developing. And as far as the characters, you're right. You want people to love them. Before I ever write the first sentence, I get a picture of the character in my mind, and I start with when were they born? What kinds of food do they like? What's their favorite color? What clothing would they wear? What music will they listen to? What are their fears? Are they afraid of spiders? Are they afraid of ghosts? I try to really develop that character in my mind so it's a fully fleshed out person before I even begin writing. And sometimes I won't use all of that information. That might not all appear in the book, but it gives me, it's as if I've met this person and I will know how they're going to respond to a situation because I know what that person is like. I know what their fears are. I know what motivates them. And I think that you really have to do that in order for them not to, be just two-dimensional, like flat on the pages. You really have to know them and love them yourself. I love these characters myself. And they also, I think it's important, everybody has a different pattern of speech. Everybody uses different words. Like, for instance, my family teases me because I actually do say, geez Louise. Like, I say that a lot. And people are like, nobody says that, but I do. But I think those little quirks and those little character traits really fully flesh out your characters. And so when I can, I sprinkle that information into the books as well.
That's really what makes a book. I've interviewed a lot of authors, and we even get down to what kind of shoes they like to wear.
Yes.
Everything about a person reflects their personality.
Yes.
And that really comes out. Would you tell us a little bit about the puzzles that are, well, maybe we should back up. Maybe you'd like to do a reading.
Okay.
And kind of get us into the book, and then we'll talk about the puzzles that are in the book for the reader.
Okay, sounds good. So the reading I'll do is, it's actually the first few pages of the book, and it's set in 2000, again in Lancaster County, and Ruby is it's whose point of view it's coming from. My grandmother, Evie Collier, is waiting on the front stoop of my cottage in a cardboard box marked priority mail. Bear hugging the box against my chest, I carry her inside. After slicing through the packing tape, I fold back the flaps. A second box, wrapped in bubble wrap, is nestled inside. I open that box and find her ashes, divided and sealed into 6 Ziploc baggies. I swallow my dismay at the unceremonious treatment of my beloved grandmother's remains, along with my tears. This is, after all, what she wanted. When we learned of her plans, my twin brother Roddy and I begged Gigi, that's our name for her, to have a normal funeral, but our pleas were no match for her frugality. Using Ask Jeeves, she searched for cheap cremations, and with a 15-minute phone call, had her no-frills $895 cremation planned. Creme de la Cremations, I kid you not, picked up her body 10 days ago. Not certain of the appropriate place to store Gigi's ashes, I clear out my vintage white enamel bread bin, line up the baggies in a tidy row, and close the lid. Miss Binet, Jane, not Elizabeth, my cheery rosy pink tea kettle, waits patiently on the stove. After flipping on the burner, I rifle through my basket full of herbal tea bags until I find a chamomile lavender blend. I pop it in my favorite polka dot mug and stare at the bread bin. Something's missing. Plucking a cherry daisy from the vase on my kitchen table, I lay it across the top of the bin. Better. I pick up the phone and dial the familiar number. Seconds later, when I realize what I've done, my stomach clenches and I drop the phone. Every evening, I'd unwind with a cup of tea and a phone chat with Gigi. Sadly, I don't need the phone tonight. Gigi's in the bread bin. Miss Binet whistles, and I pour the steaming water over the tea bag. I slip off my ballet flats and black beret and sit cross-legged in the chair. The party was a hit, I say to the enamel bin. It feels wrong, too cold and impersonal. I get up and pull one of the baggies from the bread bin and set it on the table in front of the chair across from me. Casey, that's the birthday girl, loved the grape squashing barrel so much her feet were stained by the end of the day. This artist studio was a hit too. The kids actually created some impressive paintings. I dump the tea bag to release the flavor and thank my lucky stars that I own my own business, Make a Splash event planning. Most of the time, I have as much fun as the guests. Casey's mom's best friend was super impressed with the whole Italian adventure vibe and has hired me to plan her family's reunion. Normally, this is when Gigi would congratulate me or impress me with some obscure fact about wine making or Renaissance paintings. I stare at the bag of grayish-brown ashes with disgust. This isn't working. As I tuck her back into the bread bin, I'm almost overcome with longing. I yearn for one more conversation, one more laugh, one more adventure.
Well, that introduces us to Gigi pretty well. I can assure the viewers this is a roller coaster book. You're going to love it. There is a very special feature about your book, the title, Last Will and Puzzlement. Would you like to tell the viewers what that means?
Sure. So I ended with Ruby wanting one more adventure. Well, their grandmother Evie created that for them. So they have a series of 6 puzzles that they need to solve and at each spot they will spread a baggie of her ashes. And they need to do this in order to claim their inheritance, with the caveat if they still want to. So Gigi is always very cryptic with the twins. So the puzzle starts out right away, and it's actually in the book, solvable by readers. And the puzzles that I have in the book, each one is different. So one is a logic problem, one is unscrambling words. Each one is very different, but fits with the theme of what's happening and will direct the twins to the next location. So it's a lot of fun to be able to solve the puzzles along with them and then get to the next location as the book unfolds.
Can you hold up some of those puzzles so we can see them?
Sure. So this is the first one. And this one is scrambled letters, scrambled words, but it's not just that easy. You have to unscramble the words and then use the numbers that are indicated to solve the final puzzle. And of course, Gigi, or Evie, was very much a wordsmith. And she used to give the kids, when they were growing up, when the twins were growing up, she would give them points for using 3-syllable vocabulary words as her way to make sure that they're reading and learning. And, you know, once they got enough points, they might go for ice cream or something like that. So you'll see her favored words throughout the book. And I can guarantee you there'll be a few, you'll learn some new words as well. I certainly did in making it, but I'm sure you'll learn some new words as you solve the puzzle.
It's totally a new take on a mystery novel. I think it's wonderful, and I think the readers are really going to enjoy it too. You have the also added advantage of setting it within a community, and the puzzles involve the community, some of the businesses, the homes, the local attractions. So it makes it a really fun read for everyone. It's called the Ruby Finch Mysteries. So would you tell us about Ruby Finch, and do you have a second one planned?
Oh, I absolutely do. So the Ruby Finch, the second one that I'm working on is going to be called Banking on the Truth. And like Last Will and Puzzlement, set in Lancaster County and involving businesses. Hopefully you're going to find out some more history about Lancaster County, but you'll also see some new things that are going on. It is going to be another cozy mystery, and some of the characters that you met in Last Will and Puzzlement, some of the secondary characters will actually, have a bigger role in this next book. But yes, I have, many Ruby Finch mysteries rolling around in my brain. So onward.
That's terrific. I know that you have been to several events with Headline Books. Melissa was with us at the West Virginia Book Festival this year in Charleston, West Virginia. She has a very active website too, so you can see her travel schedule. Would you like to tell us what you have coming up?
Sure. I have in September 15th, I'm going to be doing a reading in Lancaster County at the Lancaster chapter of Lady Jane's Salon, and that includes a luncheon, so it's a lot of fun. And then there'll be probably 4 or 5 other authors there. Not all mysteries, but definitely a lot of fun. And then September 21st, I will be showing at Books with 125 other local authors, which if you come, I know you're going to find your next favorite author. It's a huge event, just so much fun. The authors are there signing books, chatting about their inspiration, all of that. If you're interested in the details on either one of those, you can just go to my website, melissanordhoff.com, and all the details, the dates, how you sign up, all of that is right on my website.
That's great. I've also posted those links in the comments on the Facebook page too. There's something else about your website that's connected with Last Will and Puzzlement I'd like for you to tell the viewers about. It's a society that you have put together.
Yes, well, going on the puzzle theme, this is specifically for puzzle lovers. So it's called the Secrets Society. And the way it works is about once every 2 months or so, I email members 1 puzzle a day for a week. And you need to use your copy of Last Will and Puzzlement to solve the puzzles. At the end of the week, you'll take your 7 answers to actually solve a final challenge. And anybody who gets the final challenge correct is entered to win prizes. And one of my upcoming prizes is a winner is going to be able to name one of the characters in one of the upcoming mysteries, which is super fun. The nice thing about this is membership is free. All I need is your email. And again, the way you sign up for that is at melissanordhoff.com. Again, it's free, and the next puzzle's probably going to start in about a week or 2. So don't hesitate to sign up so you can start puzzling with us.
That's great. What kind of response have you had with this? I would think you'd get a lot of people interested, have you?
Absolutely. It's huge. And you can also follow it on Facebook is another way you can do it, but members get hints. The nice thing about being a member is you get it emailed directly to you, and members have access to hints. So if you have any trouble solving it, you'll have a hint. Now, if you just follow on Facebook, which I have a lot of Facebook followers as well, they don't get the hints. So there are some benefits to being a member. But yes, people are excited. And as soon as one puzzle ends, I start getting emails. When's the next puzzle coming? When's the next puzzle coming? I don't even think most of them care about the prizes. They just enjoy solving the puzzles. And I try to do a variety. So it's not just word puzzles. I do math puzzles. I do spatial puzzles. I do logic word puzzles. So I try to do a nice broad range. Sometimes I even do trivia, so that whatever kind of puzzle you like, hopefully you're going to find one while you're a member.
That's a great idea. And I know people love this. That's a lot of fun. I do have a question for you. One of the viewers would like to know if if you belong to a critique group. They're a first-time writer and have not joined. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, 100%. I actually belong to two critique groups. One through Pen Writers, which is fabulous, and then another one. I could not do without them, especially when I was new to it. Their insight was so helpful. And not only is it helpful to get the critiques about your own work, but while you're critiquing others' work, you're learning because you're really paying attention to what do I like, what do I not like, what seems redundant, and you can start to avoid those same pitfalls. So that I absolutely would recommend to any author. You know, a second set of eyes is always a good thing. And my critique groups, we normally have somewhere between 5 and 10 of us reading each other's work. Not only is the critique part of it, but also the support. Just, you know, knowing what it's like to be a writer, you know, some of the things that we're experiencing. So it's just a great source, and I would highly recommend any author to belong to at least one.
Would you tell us a little bit about Pen Writers? Maybe some of the viewers would like to join.
Pen Writers is a phenomenal organization that focuses on local authors from Pennsylvania. I don't think you have to be from Pennsylvania, but it is centered in Pennsylvania. And we have a conference every year. Every other year it's in Lancaster, and then the following year it's in Pittsburgh. And what I can say about the conference is before I knew anything, just the amount of wonderful advice and information. The seminars there are top notch. I mean, you really learn a lot by going to these conferences. And again, networking with other authors, meeting friends. That's where I met you, Kathy, which was phenomenal. I was able to pitch to you, learned how to query, but really learned how to improve my craft. I'm actually getting ready to go again in May. It's something, anytime it's in Lancaster, I don't miss it because you as an author, you're always learning. You can always improve. It helps you learn ways to market, not only write. I just can't say enough about the organization. It's a really great event. And I try to go to not just the Pen Writers Conference, but I go to other conferences as well because the information that you gain there is invaluable.
Another thing about conferences is the networking. And the critique groups and networking at conferences allows you to meet publishers, agents, New York Times best-selling authors, first-time authors, and it's really a great way to spend time with people who love and are passionate about what you are. And that makes so much, it really does. Generally, every state has a writers group, a writing group. I know in West Virginia writers, and every state also has a reading association and a library association, and they all have annual conferences. And if you want to get out, meet people, those are great ways to do it. We have another question for you. Once your book was published, what's your next step? I mean, do you go out and speak? You do speaking engagements. I know you told us about some of the events you're doing, but this question wants to know, this viewer wants to know how to go about maybe doing workshops or speaking engagements.
Yes. So the way I was able to get started doing that is I actually would just pop into bookstores. Well, I would check their websites first because sometimes bookstores don't want you to just pop in and see them. But the ones that allowed that, I would pop in and take my book with me and say, hey, you know, this is based in Lancaster County. I would love to do a book signing or a book reading. And that's kind of how I got started. And then I also was able to connect it with my day job, which is, you know, promoting small businesses, since a lot of the places in my book, you know, are businesses in the county. I connected with some businesses that were mentioned, and I did signings and readings there. And then as far as speaking groups, you know, just finding organizations that are looking for speakers that, you know, will make sense, that will complement what you're writing about. And they have been just fabulous. One of the last speaking groups that I did, the folks were just so excited. I sold about 25 books, and I gained 25 new people for my puzzle page. So it's really a wonderful way to connect. You know, it's just putting yourself out there, and I start local with your local bookstore. That's where to start. You can even go to your library and see if they have any reading events available that you could sign up to do. But yeah, and then of course, you know, there's also social media. That's also a way to get the word out there and, you know, find places to show or do readings. That's another good tool.
That's true. Never go anywhere without your book.
Yes, absolutely. I learned that very quickly.
That's what I tell my authors. I said, if you don't have that book with you, because that's what you're passionate about. That's what you're going to be telling people about. So we're almost out of time. Would you like to share a fun fact about yourself?
Sure, I would. This one, it kind of ties in to Lancaster County and funerals, so I think it's appropriate to share. When I was in high school, the movie Witness with Harrison Ford was being filmed in our county. And my entire family, including my grandmother and my grandfather, we all dressed up as Amish and went and auditioned for roles. And all of us were cast. So it was amazing. We filmed for 2 weeks. We did lots of different Amish scenes. And my grandmother, who actually, I didn't mention this earlier, but she is the inspiration for Last Will in Puzzlement. Evie is loosely based on my grandmother. But she spoke Pennsylvania Dutch. So when you watch the movie and you hear some of the Dutch in the background in the Amish scenes, that's actually her voice. And then I was lucky enough to get a 3-second close-up, and I just do an Oscar-worthy blink at the funeral scene. So it was a blast, and it was one of those kinds of memories that my family cherishes. It was a really fun event.
That's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. That's fantastic. What fun.
It was a blast.
Oh
We
my
had
goodness.
fun.
And it really does tie in with your book.
Yes.
So you haven't seen Evie since her passing, your grandmother since her passing, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
But I will tell you, my grandmother's funeral, the creme de la cremations, actually came from my grandmother. She set up to have her cremains sent to us in a cardboard box, and we said absolutely not. We vetoed that whole idea. But she was an extraordinary woman, so we knew that funerals, you know, it couldn't be a traditional funeral for her. So we planned a family bus trip and visited spots that were memorable in her life. And at each spot, we would get out and we would share a story about her life, and we would spread some of her ashes. So that's really where, you know, where the idea kind of came from. Now, obviously, Last Will in Puzzlement, you have to solve puzzles to get there. But my grandmother was my inspiration for this story.
Oh, that's a nice story. A perfect inspiration, that's for sure. As most readers and authors know, maybe authors more so, every book has to have a hook. And Melissa Nordhoff has certainly done that with Last Will and Puzzlement. The book is available at Amazon, at online stores, local bookstores, wherever books are sold. You can also get it at melissanordhoff.com. You can get it at headlinebooks.com. And we just released the ebook today. It's on Kindle and Nook. And for this week, it'll be 99 cents. So you can get a copy of the ebook. And if you have comments or questions for the author, please go to her website and send her a message. She'd love to hear about the puzzle solving and any comments that you may have to share. So, Melissa, thank you so much for coming on Zoom into Books. This has been so much fun, and I will see you at Pen Writers in a few weeks.
Looking forward to it. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Zoom into Books. And this video will be on the Zoom into Books Facebook page. You can go back and watch it anytime you want. And in a couple weeks, it will also be uploaded to the Zoom into Books YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. It's free. And we look forward to seeing you again, Melissa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.